Swimming around with a pod of orcas or killer whales, as they're known, is a phenomenal experience in terms of the perception of humanity. We fear these gigantic dolphins because they're just super large dolphins, but they aren't threatening to us. They are probably more afraid of us, essentially, because we have harmed their environment far more than they have harmed our environment. So for me, it was just an opportunity when I saw that pod just to jump in, and I probably swam about 400 meters to get to where they were. And they were just circling quietly on the surface, diving and up and down. And I swam along, and when they came up for a breath, I'd come up for a breath, trying to get the dorsal fins filmed. And by myself, 50 kilometers out at sea in the Pacific Ocean, it doesn't get better than that. In October of 2019, I was in Baja, Mexico, which is on the west coast of Mexico. Baja is adjacent to Southern California, so it's in the Pacific Ocean, and then you have the southern tip of the Baja Peninsula is where the Sea of Coetzee starts. And I was at a place called Magdalena Bay looking for a marlin migration and a sardine migration. And I was by myself on a boat, 50 kilometers out to sea, and I saw this huge big dorsal fin come up. And the skipper said in Spanish, "Delfine, delfine." And I said, "No, no, no, orca." And I just put my mask on and dived over the side. And I told him to "Vámonos, go away." And so he moved about 800 meters away, and I swam with a pod of 8 orcas. This was a surreal experience. The large female with a young calf swam up to me within 5-7 meters, and she looked at me and saw I didn't pose a threat, and off she went. And she was teaching her calf how to tear flesh. So she had a piece of flesh that obviously caught something, and there were bits of flesh floating in the water, and I don't know what it was. It might have been a seal, it might have been a shark, I don't know what it was, but there was chunks of flesh floating in the water. And she would grab a piece and then dive down, and then the youngster would come along and he would try and tear it out of her mouth, and then they would shake heads, and then she would let it go, and then he would swim off like victorious, having got some food. And again, just me out in the middle of nowhere with 8 orcas, an unbelievable experience. I spent 2.5 hours with that pod of orcas. They were completely unperturbed by my presence. They were moving around. They weren't actively feeding. They were just chewing on chunks of this flesh and teaching the youngsters how to feed, I suppose. And I would dive down, and they would dive down, and the youngsters had some interest again. You know, the youth generally are more inquisitive than the older beings in the world. And the mum then would sort of sidle the youngster off, or call and make this sort of clicking sound, and then the youngster would return to mum. And I was just free diving down and just spending time looking at them and just absorbing this wonderful experience. There was a big male. Now the male has got a much larger dorsal fin, and the dorsals go up to 1 meter in length. And he was on the sort of periphery of this whole pod. And I'd see him now and again. He'd come barreling past me, and then I'd sort of anticipate and dive down. And like dolphins, they're just large dolphins. Orcas are just large dolphins. And so like dolphins, they sometimes turn in their backs and they have a look at you, they eyeball you. And this guy must have been, I mean, he must weigh 8 or 10 tons, and he must be anything from 6 to 9 meters long. It's a big chunk of orca. And sort of did a barrel roll, went onto his belly, and there's this white flash on his belly, and he came past me within 2 or 3 meters, had a look at me, and off he went on his way. And he did that numerous occasions, just as I'd swimming around, because I spent a lot of time there. As I'd swim around, so he'd come past and just investigate what I was doing. Who am I? What am I doing? But not threatened by me, and I wasn't threatened by him. It was just a connection, I think, that we are able to share this planet, and we're able to share the ocean with each other.